Hello, hello, folks. How are we getting on? Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're doing well. Keeping safe, happy, fresh and dry. Uh, yeah, everything's going all right here. Not a bad dust on the top of that. Didn't expect that because I've had a drink of this. I think most people have probably tried this. It's very common in the supermarkets. Loads of them have it. Quite well packaged actually. It comes in this lovely box and it's Old Pulteney 12. This is their sort of flagship bottling. It's about £30 a bottle, roughly, there or thereabouts. Comes in this bottle that's shaped like the still. Quite like this. Seems we're having to travel all the way up. You can see what the stills looks like. The Maritime Malt, it's called. 12 years old, born in the port of Wick in Caithness, founded by James Henderson in 1826. Old Putney 12-year-old is matured in fine oak hand-selected ex-bourbon casks, gently absorbing the distinctive sea air, lively with a delicate mineral salted spiciness. Old Pulteney 12 years old is a singular and evocative spirit, truly the maritime malt. Now on the back of it there's a bit of bump about the history of the place. Our 12-year-old is matured and next to the sea, exclusively a fine American oak ex-bourbon casks, flickering from amber to gold and copper on the eye, subtly intense waves of fresh brine, toffee, and salty sea air recollect the Caithness coastline. Almost like it was there. With honey, vanilla, spicy fruit washing along across the palate in a faintly salty, long-lasting finish. What's not to like? For 30 quid. Excellent stuff. Yeah, give it a little bit of a pour. This you can get pretty much all over the place. All the big boy supermarkets has it. I'm sure I could have looked it up and found out just how much they produce. But it must be quite a lot because it is fairly common. And I know they put stuff in to blending uh, for other whiskies. Now, this was the most northerly distillery on mainland Scotland until Wolfburn and Eight Doors Distillery decided to open up. Eight Doors is right the way up in John O'Groats. Really, really nice people. Really nice people. I signed up for their founding buddies or something it was called, and they send you this beautiful metal card to tell you that you're now a founding buddy. Cost a few £100 to be a member, but you're a member and they send out emails and tell you how things are going. I had the joy of going up to the distillery last year when I did the North Coast 500 all the way around the top part. It's got once above Inverness if you go all the way around. Honestly, at some point in your life, do this. Right up the north of Scotland, there's very seldom ever anybody there. You are remote, but the beaches, oh my god, you get there on a sunny day, and I swear you could be in the Caribbean. Okay, it's not too hot, but it's beautiful. I mean, stunningly good. So yeah, ever get a chance, go and do it. Yeah, right the way up round. It's just a circular route. The roads are very narrow, so if you're watching this in the States and you do come over and you decide to do it, don't be scared. You're driving down a single lane, and by single lane, I don't mean there's one lane. There's little laybys. If you drive up, just you pull in, or the guy coming down, he'll pull in and let you past. Easy. Dead nice. It's just a lovely, lovely, lovely part of the world. Now, absolutely interesting news. I mean, genuinely, uh, something that is not expected really for something that's that cheap. It's got banana, banana peeled bananas. It's got thick nose, kind of tarry on the nose, and a little freshly squeezed lime. There's also a touch of smoke. touch of smoke coming through, not necessarily peaty, but really, really nice. Really just nice. Again, a little bit of complexity to it. You're not going to sit for hours and hours and hours debating what the complexity is, but it's there. There's lots of nice elements to this. Hmm. Now, first off, reasonable body to it. Not heavy, 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 but reasonable. There are leather notes to this. There are notes of the banana travels on through, but it's dry and it is salty. There is that element of maritimeness to it. There is absolutely, and there's no. It's okay. They're overselling it a bit. You taste the herring boats that used to leave off and all that. It's not really that. It's a bit more anemic. If you taste one of these old Pulteneys from many moons ago, it's a lot more phenolic, a lot more uh, tarry note to it, a lot more briny, and a lot more. These are a little bit more anemic. As we go forward, people's taste buds have become a little bit more sensitive to those tarry notes, but they're still there, and they are winding them back, which is a bit of a shame. I wish they would put more of this in, not less. That's really quite pleasant nose. Yeah, it's not going to pull your socks off, but it's really quite pleasant. On the finish, a little bit of nut, um, like cracked nuts. Uh, like whenever you crack a walnut and you eat it and you get more of the flesh than the skin, that kind of thing. Uh, Salty, little bit of briny, not as briny as they're telling you it is. Um, Sort of sea salty. There are sort of sweet elements to it. Let me think. What would sort of little tofu chews? Remember the little toffee chews you used to get? A little element of that. Yeah, pleasant, drinkable, reasonable nose, reasonable palate, reasonable finish, decent length. But again, it's not going to blow your socks off. But by the same token, it's not that bad. It's not offensive. It's reasonable. It's pleasant. It's nice. I just wish stick a little bit more with tradition. Make it a bit more unctuous, a little bit more chewy, a little bit more peatiness to it, a little bit more tar, a little bit. You know what I mean? Just instead of winding it back to this, this sounds really stupid in terms of customer appeal, but instead of making it a bit anemic, make it a bit more, uh, a bit more challenging. This would be so much better if it was. I think there's you have to obviously dictate to the market. You have to dictate to modern um, palates and perceptions and so on. But if I'm honest, it'll start to change, and you can see it starting to change, where people are beginning to spend more money but drink less, and they want a little bit more in terms of what they are drinking. And this could do with that. It could do, this will not do them any favors in a few years' time, making it a little bit more anemic. I mean, the likes of Johnny Walker Red Label has done exactly the same. Johnny Walker Red Label Go on, I promise you, do this as an experiment. Go on and even do it with this. Buy a bottle from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago at an auction. You're not going to pay massive money for it. But when you buy it, um, just open it, compare it with what you get today. They're just so different. So different. And it's not because it's went off in the bottle or whatever. They are just different products. Everything about them's different. The stills will be different. The way it's made will be different. The the barley that they use, the grains that they use, different variety of barley, um, different production techniques, different blending techniques, different casks, different. All of this is total is different. So it can't really be the same product. The only thing that really is geography and name. Everything else about it will have changed. So this is perfectly drinkable, but really it should be moving back to what it was back in the day. Now it's sat out for a little while. That banana note's kind of disappeared. A little bit more citrus, a little bit more tarriness probably. Still quite leathery, I suppose. And that briny, salty note. It's pleasant, but it's not. It's not as strong as they make out to be. I mean, it's 40%. Be chill filtered or a little bit of colouring in there just to standardise it. Nothing major. It's reasonable. We've got a bit of vanilla just popped in there. Bourbon, ex-bourbon cask. So you kind of have, yeah. If it's a bourbon cask, you have to have vanilla. You can't really get away from it, but it's there. Yeah, this actually one of the things about this distillery is that it actually closed. It's a resurrected distillery. It closed in the 1930s when people up in that part of the world sort of invoked prohibition, and they basically they basically closed it for 21 years, and you don't really associate that with Scotland prohibition. But I assure you, the people up in the northern part of Scotland are very religious. I mean, very religious. I know someone who stayed in Orkney for a couple of weeks, and they did their washing on a Sunday, and they put their washing out on the washing line on a Sunday. They got a knock on the door asking them what they thought they were doing. Don't put your washing out on a Sunday. It's a day of rest. It's the Lord's day, and that's still there. That element's still there up in that part of the world. So yeah, so yeah, um, I wish this was a little bit more what it says on the tin, but it's not. Uh, it should be a little bit chewier. It should be a little less sweet. It should be a little more briny, a little more tarry, a little more leathery, and it would be much better for that. You would have much more respect for it for that. Giving it a mark, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. It's a bit of a low mark, but it's not the first whiskey I've drunk today, and unfortunately, I ain't patching the one that I had before it. That's a loss, but it's nonetheless true. So we're not giving it a high mark. It's easy to drink. It's ubiquitous. It's 30 quid. Don't think it's 40%. Chill filtered, coloured, the whole heap. It's okay. So could do better, Old Pulteney. And you will, because I kind of think you'll know your market in a few years' time. You'll begin to see your market changing and developing as people's palates change and develop, and you have all the tools to do it, and you will be able to do it. So just put that back in the box, just put the lid on, and we'll get back to having another whiskey. So without further ado, guys, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy and well. Tune in, watch me and Justin on the Irish Whiskey Review Saturday nights, 10 p.m. all over the place, which we always are. All right. Take care. Bye bye.